In the cold dark of space, the stars were silent. Planets vanished one after another, and everyone across the galaxy knew who was responsible: the Xandari Empire. The Xandari were not just an alien race. They were rulers, conquerors, destroyers of worlds. And now they had built something no one had ever seen before. They called it the Divine Hammer. This was not a normal weapon. It was huge, as big as a moon, floating in space like a silent god. It could fire once, and a planet would disappear. No fire, no explosion, just gone. People called it a god killer. The Xandari tested it first on a peaceful world called Taranis 5. In seconds, the planet vanished. Billions died. No warning, no mercy, just silence. The message was clear: obey or disappear. Fear spread like wildfire across the stars. Some tried to fight. They were destroyed. Others begged for peace. The Xandari smiled and fired again. Their goal was simple: control everything. But one strange thing happened. One small planet, Earth, remained untouched. The Xandari's leaders noticed this and grew curious. "Why have we not erased Earth yet?" asked Supreme Overlord Vathar, a creature of black steel and blue fire. His voice echoed across the council chamber. An advisor answered, "Our scanners report interference. The weapon cannot lock onto the planet. Something is blocking it," Vathar growled. "No planet should block our god killer." So they sent a fleet of scouts to observe Earth, to study it, to understand. But none returned. Something was very wrong. On Earth, no one knew about the coming danger. The people lived their lives, unaware that death watched from above. But one man felt it. His name was Jack Riker. Jack lived alone in a small cabin in the mountains of Colorado. Snow covered the trees, and wolves howled at night. It was peaceful, quiet. But inside Jack's mind there was no peace. He was a war veteran, a soldier. He had seen death. He had caused death. And now all he wanted was to be left alone. But his peace was ending. It started with dreams, dark shapes in the sky, burning planets, strange voices speaking in a language he didn't know. Every morning, Jack woke up sweating, heart pounding. He knew something was coming. One night he saw it with his own eyes. He stood outside drinking black coffee under the stars. Then, he felt it. A pull, like something was watching him from space. He looked up, and there it was. A black ship, silent, like a shadow floating above the stars. No lights, no sound. But it was there. Jack stared, and the ship disappeared. But it had seen him, and he had seen it. Far above Earth, inside one of the Xandari scout ships, a soldier reported, "Target, locked. Human anomaly located." Another replied, "It does not match any known life form. Something inside him interferes with our scans. Bring him in." The next morning, Jack was hunting deer. His rifle was loaded. His breath showed in the cold air. Everything seemed normal until the forest went silent. No birds, no wind. Then came a hum. Low, deep, unnatural. 3 Xandari warriors appeared, stepping out of thin air. Tall, armored, glowing blue with energy. Jack raised his rifle. What the hell? One of the aliens moved fast. Too fast. It grabbed Jack's gun and crushed it like paper. They surrounded him. Jack's body moved on its own. Training took over. He grabbed a knife, dodged one of them, and stabbed right through the alien's armor. The creature fell. Jack blinked. How? Another one attacked. Jack kicked him back with unnatural strength. Bones broke. The last alien screamed and fired a blast of energy. Jack raised his hand to block, and the blast stopped mid-air, glowing around his fingers. The alien stared in shock. He is one of them." Jack's eyes glowed faintly. He didn't know why. His heartbeat slowed. His body felt different, stronger, faster, more. The final alien ran. Jack let him go. His hands shook. What am I? At the same time, deep under Washington, D.C., a secret meeting was happening. A woman in a black suit slammed her hand on a table. He's active. Project Endlight has awakened. General Morris leaned forward. I thought that program failed. It did, or we thought it did. The woman showed a file. Inside was a photo of Jack Riker, taken 10 years ago. He's the only subject who survived. Later that night, Jack sat in front of his cabin's fire. His hands were wrapped in bandages. His mind raced. He remembered pieces of his past, old labs, doctors, machines in his head. Project Endlight, the pain, the tests. He had been part of something dark, something secret. They had tried to create the perfect human weapon, a soldier who could control machines, who could survive anything, who could fight gods. They failed. Or maybe they didn't. Jack looked up at the stars again. Something was still watching him. Back on the Zandari homeworld, Supreme Overlord Vathar listened to the scouts' report. This human killed 2 of our elite and blocked our weapon. He turned to his war council. This is not just a man. He is the last piece of a forgotten power. The others stayed silent. Vathar stood and shouted, "Then we will show him, show Earth, that even their greatest mistake cannot stop us." He raised his arm. The divine hammer will fire again. The divine hammer stood silent in deep space, its long body stretching like a steel mountain. Its core glowed with ancient energy, ready to fire again. But this time, it had a new target. Earth. Supreme Overlord Vathar stood at the control platform. "Fire," he ordered. The weapon charged. Lights flashed across its frame. Power flowed into the barrel. The galaxy held its breath. Then, error. The lights dimmed. The energy stopped moving. A loud warning echoed across the control room. Target rejection. Interference detected. Vathar stared at the screen. How is this possible? One of his generals stepped forward. The human. He is the cause. They had never failed before. No planet had blocked the weapon. But now, one single human was breaking it. They called him the human anomaly. Far below, on Earth, Jack Riker stood in the snow near his cabin. His breath came slow. His muscles were tight. He stared at the sky. He could feel the weapon. Not just its presence, but its anger. Something inside him had changed. He wasn't just stronger. He was connected. He could hear signals in the air, feel machines talking in the distance. He didn't know how, but he knew it came from Project Endlight. Years ago, he had volunteered for it. Or maybe he had been forced. His memory wasn't clear. They told him he would help protect Earth, be a hero. Instead, he became a ghost, a forgotten weapon, a broken soldier. But now, the old power was waking up. In a dark control room under Washington, D.C., alarms buzzed. Military leaders and scientists watched live feeds of Jack. General Morris looked at the woman in black. He took down elite alien soldiers with his bare hands. "You still think we can control him?" The woman, Director Lang, shook her head. "We never could. That's why we buried the program." Another officer pointed at the screen. "If the aliens are after him, maybe we should hand him over." "No," Lang said coldly. "He's our only chance." The general frowned. "Or he could bring our destruction." Lang made the call. "Send a Black Ops team. Bring Riker in. Alive." Jack didn't run. He knew they were coming. His mind was too sharp now, his instincts too fast. He felt the chopper before he heard it. The black team landed outside his cabin, 10 men, armored, armed. Jack stood in the snow with his hands up. "You're wasting your time." "On your knees," one shouted. Jack didn't move. They tried to grab him. Bad idea. In seconds, Jack had disarmed 3 of them. The others fell back, shocked. He didn't want to fight, but something inside him took control. His body moved with perfect speed. His brain saw everything in slow motion. Their weapons felt like toys. Then, a small voice spoke from behind. "Jack. Stop." He turned. A woman stepped forward, older now but familiar. It was Dr. Elira Shaw, one of the scientists from Project Endlight. She looked at him with sad eyes. "You were never meant to wake up this way." Jack froze. You said the project was over, that it failed." She nodded. "It did? But you didn't. They took him to an underground base, deep below the Rockies, a place no one outside the government knew existed." Jack sat across from Dr. Elira in a small white room. No windows. Just silence. She explained everything. "You were the last subject, the only one who survived. We tried to make you stronger, yes, but that wasn't the real goal." Jack frowned. "Then what was?" "We found something buried under Antarctica, a machine. Ancient, not human." Jack leaned in. "Alien?" She nodded. "Yes, but older than the stars." She showed him a picture, a broken piece of metal glowing with strange symbols. "We called it the seed. It could bond with organic life, turn any being into something more." Jack stared. "You put that thing inside me?" She looked away. "We didn't have a choice. We thought it would kill you. But it didn't. It made you the only person on Earth who can resist the divine hammer." Back in space, the Zandari Council gathered in fear. The weapon was still offline. One of the commanders said, "He is bonded with the seed." Another said, "Impossible. That artifact was lost ages ago." Vathar slammed his fist. "The first ones created the seed. It was meant to awaken their champions. If a human has it, we must act fast." They sent a message across the stars. "Human anomaly is to be captured, alive if possible. Kill all who stand in the way." Jack sat in a dark cell. They called it protection. But he knew it was a prison. Dr. Elira visited him again. She placed her hand on the glass. "Jack, the Zandari won't stop. Earth is in danger. You're the only one who can stop them." Jack looked away. "I didn't ask for this. I know, but you're more than just a soldier now." He stayed silent for a moment, then said, "You said I was the only one who survived. What happened to the others?" Her voice dropped. "They lost control. The seed changed them too fast. They became something else." "What happened to them?" "We buried them. Deep." Later, that night, alarms went off. Red lights flashed. Explosions rocked the base. The Zandari had found them. Elite alien units stormed the facility. Guards fell. Scientists ran. Jack sat calmly in his cell. He could hear the battle above. He felt the machines breaking, the walls cracking, the fear in every heartbeat around him. Then, his cell door opened on its own. He stepped out. No guards, no orders, just freedom. Dr. Elira met him in the hallway, bruised but alive. "We have to go." Jack nodded. He didn't need to ask how. His body was already waking up again. As they escaped into the night, a satellite feed showed a giant ship entering Earth's orbit. The divine hammer had arrived, and this time, it would fire with full power. But something was different now. The weapon scanned Earth again, and once more, it failed. This time, the error message was louder. "Interference detected. Human anomaly growing. Weapon unstable." Inside the Zandari ship, Vathar screamed in rage. "He is not a man," he hissed. "He is the end of us." High above Earth, the sky cracked open. The divine hammer floated into orbit, black and massive like a dead star. Cities across the world saw it. Governments panicked, news channels screamed, people dropped to their knees. The Zandari were not hiding anymore. They were here to finish it. Inside the alien ship, Supreme Overlord Vathar stood before the firing controls. The room was filled with dark energy. Soldiers watched as red symbols glowed on the screen. "Charge the weapon," he ordered, "but the human anomaly." A technician said, voice shaking. Vathar's voice cut through him like a knife. "Earth dies. Now." On Earth, inside a hidden military base under the mountains, sirens echoed. The world's top leaders had gathered, and they were not united. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to give Jack Riker to the enemy. "He's the reason they're here," shouted a senator. "He's the only one stopping them," yelled another general. Jack sat at the center of the room, handcuffed, surrounded by armed guards, but he didn't move. He didn't speak. His eyes were distant, listening to signals no one else could hear. Dr. Elira stepped forward. "He's not your enemy. He's your only weapon." President Hale looked at Jack. "Is that true?" Jack looked up. "They're going to fire in 2 hours. Can you stop it?" the president asked. Jack slowly nodded. "Maybe, but not from here." The government made a choice. Jack would go into space. Not in a rocket, but through Project Hades, a one-time jump system built for emergencies. It could launch a person to orbit in seconds, but only one. No return. Jack didn't hesitate. "I'm not coming back, am I?" He asked Elira. She lowered her eyes. "No," he sighed. "Then let's make it count." As the sun began to rise, Jack stood inside the launch tube. His body glowed faintly now, his veins like silver lines, his eyes sharp and clear. Elira handed him a small earpiece. "I'll guide you. Once you're inside the divine hammer, find the core. It's alive, and it knows you." He looked at her one last time. "Thank you for not giving up on me," she smiled. "Just come back if you can." With a loud boom, the launch fired. Jack shot into the sky like a meteor. The divine hammer's outer defenses activated. Drones flew in. Lasers fired. But Jack moved like lightning. He landed hard on the hull, rolled, and stood tall. The armor around him bent under his steps. He wasn't just human now. He was something else. Something more. The ship recognized him. Doors opened before he touched them. Walls glowed. He walked inside. Inside the command center, Vathar watched the screens. "Impossible," he growled. "He's on board." The others panicked. "We must leave. If he reaches the core—" "No," Vathar said coldly. "He wants a god. He'll face one." He left the room. Jack walked through long alien halls. The walls pulsed like a heart. He could hear whispers, not words, but emotions. Sadness, rage, memory. The ship remembered him. He reached a great chamber filled with glowing blue light. At the center was a massive structure, half machine, half crystal, pulsing with energy. The core. It spoke without a voice. "You carry the seed." Jack nodded. "I don't want to fight you. But you must." Suddenly the chamber shifted. The walls grew spikes. The air burned. Vathar stepped out from the shadows, armored in living metal. "You are not worthy of this power," he hissed. Jack stood tall. "We'll find out." The fight was brutal. Vathar moved like a storm, each punch shaking the room. Jack countered with speed and strength, blocking attacks, striking back. They crashed through walls, slammed into machines. Jack felt pain, but also growth. Every second, the seed inside him evolved. He could now control the floor under his feet. Hack doors with his mind. Heal faster. Vathar snarled, "You are not a god, just a mistake." Jack's eyes flashed. "No, I'm human." He lifted Vathar with one hand and threw him across the chamber. The core glowed brighter. "You are ready." Jack stepped into the heart of the machine. Energy wrapped around him. His memories came back. All of them. The tests. The pain. The soldiers who died. The others who didn't survive the seed. The lies. He felt rage, but also purpose. He wasn't just a weapon. He was a warning. Never underestimate a human. From Earth, people watched as the divine hammer lit up. For a moment, they feared the worst. But instead of firing, the ship began to change. Its glow turned white, then gold, then soft blue. The weapon was shutting down. In every Xandari ship, systems failed, shields dropped, engines stopped. Across the galaxy, the Empire's power collapsed. On Earth, Dr. Illyra whispered, "He did it." Inside the core, Jack stood still. He could feel the entire weapon now, like it was part of his body. He could destroy planets, control machines, rewrite systems. He had become what they feared most, but deep inside he also felt something else. Danger. The seed was taking over, slowly but surely. If he stayed like this, he would stop being human. He had a choice: keep the power or let it go. Jack closed his eyes. He thought about Earth, the forests, the snow, the sound of wolves at night, the smile of Dr. Illyra, the soldiers who never came home. He made his decision. He reached into the core and shut it down. The divine hammer's light faded. Its massive body broke apart, slowly, silently, into dust. A golden wave of peace spread through space, erasing the weapon from reality. Vathar's armor floated through the void, lifeless. Jack. Riker was gone, but his legacy was not. On Earth, a small message played across every screen. They built a weapon to kill gods, but they forgot what humans can become. The divine hammer was gone. All across Earth, people watched the skies. Where once a dark weapon had floated, now only peaceful stars remained. Cities erupted in cheers. Strangers hugged. Children laughed. The world had been saved. But Jack Riker was nowhere to be found. The man who had stopped a godlike weapon had vanished. 3 days later, in a secret base under Washington, Dr. Illyra Shaw stood alone in front of a glowing screen. Her face was pale. Her hands shook. Project Endlight Subject 07. No life signs, the computer said. Body unrecovered. General Morris entered. Any trace of him? She shook her head. Nothing, not even debris. Then he's gone, the general said coldly. No, Illyra whispered. He became part of the weapon. He chose to disappear. The general shrugged. He made the call. It's over. He turned to leave, but paused at the door. You were right about him. One man saved us all. She didn't reply. She just stared at the stars on the screen and whispered, He's not done yet. Somewhere beyond Earth's orbit, deep in the black of space, tiny particles floated, fragments of the divine hammer. Among them, something pulsed, something alive, a spark, then a flicker, then a heartbeat. The Xandari Empire was in chaos. There, fleets had shut down. Their colonies were silent. Their leadership shattered. In a dark chamber far across the galaxy, surviving generals gathered. We lost the divine hammer, one growled, and our god-killer. Another slammed his fist. Because of one human. They all turned as a cloaked figure entered. He did not speak. He only placed a silver cube on the table. The generals watched as it lit up and showed an image. Jack Riker, moving, alive. The cloaked figure finally spoke. He lives, and he is changing. What is he now? One general asked. The figure stared into the light. He is no longer human. He is becoming something else. Back on Earth, strange things started happening. Satellites picked up strange energy bursts from deep space. Lost machines started working again. An old military drone, shut down years ago, suddenly flew to the sky and vanished. Illyra watched it, all with growing fear. It's him, she said. Pieces of him are waking up. In a remote area of Siberia, a mining crew disappeared. A rescue team found the camp frozen solid, every machine dead, every computer wiped. But one message was left burned into the ice, only 2 words, I remember. At night, Illyra began hearing voices in her dreams, memories, images, places she had forgotten. Then one night she woke up to find her old lab computer glowing. No power, no connection, only a message blinking. Illyra, it's me. Her hand shook. As she typed back, Jack, a pause. Then, not just Jack, something more, something new. Jack Riker had not died. His body had broken. But the seed had saved his mind. His thoughts lived in energy now. He was everywhere. Not a man, not a machine, but a ghost in the stars. And he had a mission. The Zandari were planning something worse. A weapon, even older than the divine hammer. They called it the Null Star. Built by ancient beings, it could erase entire solar systems, light, matter, time itself. And now they wanted to use it on Earth. Jack knew this. He saw the signals, felt the machines, moving, read the language of stars. But he needed help. So he reached out, to them. All across Earth, certain people began to change. A blind boy in Africa suddenly saw stars no one else could see. A girl in Tokyo started drawing blueprints she had never learned. Retired pilot in Texas began flying again, inside his dreams. Each had once been touched by Project Endlight. Each carried a small trace of the seed. And now, Jack was waking them up. Elira stood in front of a map. Red dots blinked across it. Humans Jack had reached. He's building something, she whispered. A team? General Morris asked. She shook her head. A network, in the ruins of an abandoned space station near Mars. Something new was being built. Floating steel, glowing lights, pieces moved by invisible hands. At the center, a throne of energy. And on that throne, the outline of a man. Jack Riker. He was no longer just a hero. He was becoming a legend. The Null Star was coming. The Zandari believed Earth would fall. But this time, Earth had a protector they couldn't understand. He had no army, no ship, no planet. But he had something far stronger. Human will, human memory, and human rage. Jack Riker was gone. But in his place, something had risen. Something old. Something new. Something the universe had never seen before. Not a weapon. Not a soldier. A warning. In the dark void beyond Mars, the old space station floated like a ghost. It had no lights, no engines, no power. But deep inside it, something new was waking up. A soft blue glow spread through its walls. Wires twisted on their own. Steel bent into shape. At the center, a figure slowly formed, made of light, data, and memory. It had no heartbeat, but it had purpose. It was Jack Riker, not the man who once fought in wars. Not the soldier who destroyed the divine hammer, but something else. The first of the human network. Back on Earth, strange events kept happening. A farmer in Argentina dreamed of alien codes and wrote them perfectly on paper. A teenager in India drew a star map from memory showing places humans had never visited. A mother in Canada heard a whisper during sleep. You are not alone. Each person had something in common. They had lost someone in Project Endlight, and now, Jack had found them. Dr. Elira sat in her lab, scanning brain patterns from all over the planet. Red lines, blue waves, unnatural signals. These people are changing, she whispered. General Morris leaned in. Changing into what? Elira looked up, her voice serious. Into a weapon he can trust. In orbit around a dying moon, an ancient Zandari vault opened. Out of the dust, a terrible shape, rose long black, sharp as broken time, the Null Star. It didn't just destroy things, it erased them. Worlds, memories, even souls. Once it was locked away by the old empire, too dangerous to use. Now, the last Zandari warlords had reactivated it. The humans will fall, one hissed. Their protector is only a ghost. But they were wrong. Jack Riker was no ghost. He was everywhere. Inside the space station, Jack stood, his body now made of light and metal, human and machine, thought and code. He stared at the stars. And then he reached out. Across Earth, 57 people suddenly woke up. Their eyes glowed faintly. their minds filled with strange knowledge. Their hands moved like they'd trained for years. Each one heard a voice in their head. You are part of me now, and I am part of you. They didn't know how, but they understood. They weren't alone. They were part of the network, and they had a mission. Stop the null star. In Texas, the old pilot, Mark Gunner, got inside his barn and found an aircraft waiting. He had never seen it before, but he knew exactly how to fly it. In Tokyo, the girl who drew blueprints opened her bedroom window, and a small flying orb hovered outside. It scanned her, then projected Jack's voice. You're ready. Governments didn't understand what was happening. Leaders panicked. Commanders wanted control, but they were too late. Jack didn't need permission. He didn't need orders. He had already moved beyond their systems. He was building his own defense. With the only thing stronger than alien technology, human minds connected by purpose. In the skies above Earth, sleek new ships appeared faster than anything humans had built. They had no engines, no fuel, only thought. The network pilots didn't steer with hands, they flew with their minds. They didn't speak to each other. They felt each other's intent. It was like dancing with machines. They didn't know how it worked. But Jack did. He had given them a piece of himself. On the dark edge of the solar system, the null star began to charge. Its core spun like a black sun. Waves of gravity shook nearby planets. Time slowed, then stopped. The Zandari warlords stood on the deck of their battleship. Fire in 10 cycles, one ordered. Earth will forget itself, said another. But as they watched, new blips appeared on their radar, fast unknown, coming from Earth. The human network had launched. 57 ships, no army, no nation flag, just a single symbol, a human hand holding a shattered star. They flew faster than thought, and in the heart of their swarm, Jack Riker, he wasn't in a ship. He was the ship. His mind powered the fleet, his voice guided them, and his rage drove them. Inside the lead ship, Mark Gunner smiled. Let's go teach these space gods a lesson. In Tokyo, the eye, girl whispered, for Jack. In Africa, the blind boy, now seeing clearly, grinned. They won't erase us. As they reached the null star, the Zandari forces opened fire, but their weapons missed. Their systems glitched. Their commands jammed. Jack was already inside their code. He was rewriting the rules of the fight. One by one, the human network broke through. They didn't use missiles. They didn't need them. Their ships moved like thoughts, dodging lasers, cutting engines, flying through walls. Inside each ship, the pilot was linked to Jack and to every other. Pilot one mind, one mission, defend Earth, destroy the null star. The battle shook the stars. The null star grew unstable. The Zandari screamed as their systems failed, and then Jack appeared on every screen, not with anger, but with warning. You tried to erase us. He paused. But humans don't disappear. The last strike came not from a weapon, but from memory. Jack reached into the null star and filled it with every face, every name, every person Earth had ever lost. Billions of voices, every soul. The Zandari tried to silence. The null star couldn't handle it. It cracked, then shattered. A final blast of blue light rushed out, and then silence. The human network returned home. No medals, no headlines, just peace. And Jack? He was still out there, watching, learning, becoming more. Because the galaxy wasn't safe yet. There were other empires, other monsters, other weapons. But now, they all knew. You don't mess with Earth, not while Jack Riker is watching. The null star was gone. The Zandari fleet was broken. Across the galaxy, thousands of alien systems went silent. Fear spread faster than light, not because Earth had powerful weapons, not because Earth had a big army, but because of one man. Jack Riker. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He wasn't even fully human. He was a network, a system, a memory made of fire, pain, and purpose. He had become something new, something terrifying. Some called him a guardian, Others called him a ghost. But the Xandari survivors had a different name for him, the Human Storm, because he came without warning. And he destroyed everything that tried to erase humanity. At the United Earth Assembly, leaders from every nation gathered. The room was full of tension. Some were afraid of Jack. "He's too powerful," one general shouted. "He's not even human anymore." "He saved the planet," Elira Shaw replied. "He became what we needed because we couldn't do it ourselves." A woman in a navy suit stood up. "So, who controls him now?" The room went quiet. No one had an answer, because no one controlled Jack Riker anymore. Up in orbit, the human network watched in silence. 57 pilots. Each chosen, each connected to Jack. They received no orders. Only feelings. Sometimes they saw memories that weren't their own. Sometimes they woke up with new skills in their minds. They weren't afraid. They trusted him. But even they didn't know what he was becoming. In deep space, beyond the known systems, Jack found something. A signal. Old, alien, human. It wasn't Earth technology. It was older than Earth's space age. A satellite from a lost human colony. Abandoned over 10,000 years. Ego, he scanned it. Inside was a message. "If you're reading this, we didn't make it. But if you are us, then fight, don't stop, we were here first." Jack froze. There had been humans out there, long before Earth even reached the stars. Who were they? Where did they go? And what took them? He followed the signal to a distant system. What he found was horrifying. Planets crushed, moons cracked, whole civilizations turned to dust. At the center, a giant machine. Black, silent, sleeping, built by something not alive. But not dead either. It wasn't alien. It wasn't human. It was older than both. And as Jack scanned it, he saw its name burned into space itself. The Eater of Thought. The machine was dead. For now. But not forever. Jack could feel it. Its hunger. It didn't want planets or stars. It wanted minds. Memories. Ideas. That's why those old humans were gone. They had been erased, just like the Null Star had tried to erase Earth. Jack returned to the human network. He sent a silent message. They all saw it in their dreams, a vision of what he had seen. A warning, a choice, prepare or be forgotten. On Earth, Elira stood on a quiet balcony, looking at the night sky. Suddenly, her tablet lit up. A voice came through. Jack's voice. "Elira, it's coming." She sat down. "What is?" He paused, then said softly, "Something that doesn't fear gods or humans." The United Earth Assembly met again, this time with fear in their eyes. They had received a file from Jack. Inside, star maps, scans, and one message. "I'm leaving Earth's orbit. I'll be back when I've learned more. Protect each other and be ready." Then, he was gone, vanished into the stars. No more signals, no more whispers, only silence. But Earth didn't panic, because the human network was still there, still watching, still protecting, and far beyond the edge of the galaxy, inside the black heart of the unknown, Jack Riker floated toward the Eater of Thought. He had no fear, he had no limits, because he had something that machine would never understand. Human memory, human pain, and a promise. He whispered into the dark. "You took the first humans. You erased their voices, but I remember them now. And as long as I remember, and you'll never win." In the blackest part of space, where light itself feared to go, a shape floated. Cold, dead, endless. The Eater of Thought had no face, no voice, no mercy. It had destroyed ancient human colonies long before Earth built its first rocket. It erased, minds like dust in the wind. It didn't kill with fire or metal. It unmade things, took memories, took meaning. And now it had sensed Jack Riker. Jack stood inside a storm of broken stars. His body wasn't flesh anymore, but thought, wrapped in light. He was alone. No backup, no network, no Earth, Only him and the ancient destroyer. But Jack didn't feel fear. He felt something stronger. Purpose. Back on Earth, the human network woke up at the same moment. Every member, 57 minds, heard one final whisper from Jack. "This is goodbye." Elira Shaw's hands trembled. "No," she whispered. "You don't have to do this." But the sky stayed quiet. The stars didn't answer. In deep space, the Eater of Thought finally moved. It opened, not with metal, but with silence. A black ripple spread outward, reaching toward Jack like invisible smoke. It didn't see a threat. Just another memory to erase, another story to silence. But Jack had a gift no machine could understand. He remembered everything. His first mission, his failures, his pain, his teammates who died, the children saved, the cities lost. The moment he looked up at Earth from space and swore it would never fall, he sent all of it into the void, not as data, as emotion. The Eater stopped. It had eaten machines, it had erased minds, but it had never felt something like this. Pure human memory, burning, wild, uncontrolled. Jack's voice thundered in the dark. "You erase them, but I carry what you couldn't kill. I carry their names, their dreams, their fire." He lifted his hand, glowing with a storm of memories. "Try to erase me." The Eater struck. A wave of nothing washed over Jack. But it failed, because Jack had become more than human. He wasn't just mind or machine. He was every memory you couldn't break. He was a billion voices screaming, "We matter." The Eater cracked. Tried again. But Jack pushed back harder. Not with lasers, not with weapons, but with the power of being remembered. The battle wasn't loud. It wasn't seen. But across the galaxy, stars flickered. Planets shook. People had strange dreams of fire, of a man made of light, of something ancient dying and then something new rising. Back on Earth, Elira looked up and whispered, "He's doing it." The human network felt it too. Tears rolled down faces, not from pain, from pride. They weren't watching a battle. They were watching a legend being born. Inside the heart of the storm, the Eater cracked open. Jack Riker floated toward its core. A dark sphere of absolute silence. He held out his hand and whispered the name of every forgotten soul, every erased colony, every voice that was lost, one by one, name by name, until the core couldn't hold them anymore. It exploded in a wave of light. No, one knows exactly what happened after that. Jack's signal vanished. The Eater was gone, not broken, not destroyed, just undone, as if it had never been. Years passed. The human network grew stronger. More pilots joined, more minds linked. Earth was finally safe, not because it had bigger weapons, but because it remembered. A monument was built on the moon. No statue, no face, just a glowing wall with a message. Here stands what cannot be erased. A man who became memory, a memory that became legend, a legend that became our shield. Sometimes when a network pilot flies too far from Earth, their screen flickers. A message appears, only 2 words. Still here. No one knows if it's real, but they always smile, because they believe. Somewhere out there, in the quiet between stars, Jack Riker watches, not as a man, not as a machine, but as a memory strong enough to fight gods and win.